Bula vinaka Fiji, to our listeners on Gold FM as well as to our viewers on FBC TV. Welcome to another episode of Speak Your Mind. If you're joining us via the World Wide Web, a big Bula vinaka to you also, all the way from Fiji. We've spoken about many issues in the past, and if you notice, there's been a lot of development happening around the country, in particular with roads. And here to tell us a bit more about the work that's being done and the work that's currently ongoing is the CEO for the Fiji Roads Authority, Mr. Neil Cook. Mr. Cook, welcome to the show.
Good afternoon.
Let's start off with the major projects that were planned, Mr. Cook. I understand after the budget announcement, there was a plan set out by the Fiji Roads Authority. Tell us how many. It's been 9 months. How many major projects have actually gotten off the ground? How many are still yet to begin? And if any, how many have been completed?
Yeah, we've had a very large capital program this year, as you know, and probably our most significant project that got underway this year was the upgrade of the Nambualu to Trakiti Road, the highway there.
So there's been a lot of talk about that highway, Mr. Cook. How is that coming along?
That's progressing well. We have in the north some particular issues around the materials that are available to us, and I'm very pleased to say the contractor, which is China Rail First Group, they've really come on board in addressing the issues with some of that material quality up there, and making sure that what we end up putting down on the road is going to last and is value for all that money that's being invested.
Do you have a rough figure of how many projects that were planned and how many have actually yet to start?
Oh, it depends on what you call a large project. So we've got many projects that are worth in excess of $1 million, which some people would call that a large project. The Nambualu project's a $200 million project that'll be done over 3 or 4 years. So it's a little difficult to just give you a number out of the air like that. But some of our significant projects on either starting up or ongoing. We've got the Nambualu one, which I mentioned. We have a major project starting. Well, two effectively major projects starting. One in Nandi, one in Suva, which have been nominally known as the 4-laning projects. So earlier this year they were suffering a bit of a delay, a bit of a setback, based on some just delays in getting the design process rolling effectively. We made some decisions back in April and May that got those projects back on track, and we're aiming to start construction on the first stages of each of those projects sometime in November. That's our aim.
That was actually leading up to my next question, Mr. Cook. How is the work of the FRA on track, would you say?
Yes, I would. It's obviously this has been a very challenging year.
Right. We have a call on the line, Mr. Cook. Welcome to Speak Your Mind. Your name, where you're calling from, and your question, please. I'm sorry, can you repeat that, please? Welcome to Speak Your Mind. You are live. Do you have a question for Mr. Cook? Yeah, I think we lost our caller there. Anyway, Mr. Cook, just going back to that question, you mentioned a few delays earlier this year, but would you say that the work is on track and you're looking to complete these projects as initially planned?
Yes, as I said, it has been a very challenging year, as we not only did we have a very, very large work program to deliver, we also had to set up the Fiji Roads Authority. We also had to work with a number of new contractors establishing in Fiji on what are very significant, large-scale, long-term projects. So all of our maintenance work and our renewals work are on track for delivering what we wanted to deliver. There have been some setbacks, some well-publicised setbacks with the demise of our northern maintenance contractor, which we may want to talk about a little bit more a little bit further on. So those maintenance and renewals, and that's all part of the work we're seeing around here in the Suva CBD, all going very well. Challenges with materials supply, which was always going to be a challenge as we rebuild that supply chain to supply us with the right quality materials in the right quantities at the right time. So these are things that are outside of our direct control. In many cases, they're outside of the direct control of our contractors, and we're just collectively working with the industry to try and improve that aspect of things over time. With our larger projects, we said before, is any coming to a close? Yep, the Moto Road and the
This is in Ba.
Mba.
Yeah.
There's the Prime Minister will be opening the new bridge there, doing an official opening of the new bridge on Friday. So that project's in its final stages of completion. So very, very, very pleased about that. A good result.
So this bridge is, you can assure people in Moto that this bridge will withstand another flood should it happen.
This bridge, the government made the call during the project that more investment was needed. So the bridge has been redesigned. It's now well above any normal flood level. I think anyone who's out there using it will be quite happy that their access is going to be a lot more secure than what it was in the past.
If you're listening in from home or from the office and you have any questions for Fiji Roads Authority CEO Mr. Neil Cook, call us up 3220-906 or 3220-907. Now, you've just mentioned there, Mr. Cook, that there were some more investment needed for that bridge in Moto. Leading up to my next question, $400 million was given for Roads Authority for the 2013 budget. Do you see the work or the projects that you've laid out? Do you see this $400 million catering for all these projects, or do you think that you might need a little bit more money for different projects?
Oh, as I said, many of these projects are multi-year projects, and so a project that is $200 million over 4 years, what people need to understand with a project like that is once you've signed that contract with that contractor, you do lose some level of control over how that money gets spent over those 4 years. So the challenge there is to do the forecasting and expenditure, the cash flowing of that project the best we can, but understand that it needs to be balanced out over the entire course of the contract.
Right. We'll talk more on that when we come back, Mr. Cook. We'll head into a short break now, and when we return, we'll talk more on the different projects that the Fiji Roads Authority is undertaking around the country. Welcome back. You're on Gold FM's Speak Your Mind, a weekly program that happens here on Gold FM every Monday from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. and replays on FBC TV on Tuesday nights at 10:30. With me today in studio is the CEO for the Fiji Roads Authority, Mr. Neil Cook. And like I mentioned before, if you have any questions for him, call us up 3220-906 or 3220-907. Now, Mr. Cook, we're talking about the budget before we went to the break. So it's safe to say that you will indeed need more money to complete these projects. Seeing that we're going into the budget announcement soon, you made some submissions?
Oh, certainly, yes. Well, as I said, there are multi-year projects that are only halfway through, or some are nearly finished, and some have just started. So those projects will need the investment to continue to deliver the outcomes that government had set through signing those contracts. The other large part of what we're doing outside of those massive capital program, which this year was around $290 million for those large projects. In addition to that, we have our maintenance program and our renewals program, and that work doesn't stop. If if at any time you stop investing in the maintenance of your asset and replacing parts of your assets when they're due to be replaced, the overall condition will start to deteriorate. And that's what we've seen with Fiji's roads over the past 10, 15, 20 years, and that's what we're here remedying now.
Right. We have another caller. Welcome to Speak Your Mind. You're live. Do you have a question for Mr. Neil Cook?
Hello?
Yes, hello. You're on Speak Your Mind live on Gold FM. Do you have a question for Mr. Neil Cook?
Yes.
Your name and where you're calling from, please.
My name is Atela. I'm calling from Riley Street.
Your question, Atela.
I just want to ask Mr. Cook. Right now they are working on Norley Street.
Yes.
So are they going to fix the Riley Street also?
The Nolly Street project is a specific part of our Central Suva works for this year. So if you're in that area, you'll know that it's a major upgrade happening. I can't speak about Riley Street specifically, but we will be getting to every road in Fiji at some point over the next few years, and that's the long-term commitment government's made through establishing FRA to say that Fiji can expect to see their road network improve to an appropriate international standard over the next 5 to 7 years at current levels of investment.
And I guess that's something that the public will have to understand also, Mr. Cook, because for too long we've had what can I say, bad roads. We had bad roads in Fiji, and we hear that the Fiji Roads Authority is working on the roads now. A lot of people are expecting this to be done overnight. I guess the understanding needs to also kick in from the public's point of view.
Look, I think most people understand very, very well that this can't be fixed overnight. But quite rightly, everyone also thinks that their road is the most important, and it is to them. Our job is to prioritise the use of those funds to address what are the worst areas, and what people generally don't understand is that what they think is the worst and what we think are the worst are often slightly different, and we will also spend money on a site that doesn't necessarily look that bad to other people, because we know we can spend a smaller amount of money now and save that piece of road rather than leaving it while we fix another bit that is already well beyond repair. So there's a bit of a science to what we do. A lot of experience coming to bear from guys who have been doing this pavement management work at a network level. We are looking at the whole network, trying to do the best thing across the country, make sure we get into all areas and so on. So we will get to every road, we will fix everything, but it's not all going to be in 2013, and it's not all going to be in 2014.
Well, there you have it, the assurance from the FRA CEO, Mr. Neil Cook. If we have any questions or if you have any comments, you can call us up on 3220-906 or 3220-907. Mr. Cook, there's been a lot of work happening. There's been a lot of hustle and bustle in the capital. A lot of drivers have been complaining that the road closures happening every now and then in different parts of the capital. How long more do you think we have until these roads in the capital are fixed?
The specific project that we've got on at the moment is going to go for probably the next 6 weeks, something like that, through into mid-November, depending on the weather, maybe late November. There's some short-term inconvenience, and I think we publicise that very well through print media, through the radio, and through our signage. We've had actually a lot of very good feedback about the way these sites are being managed. Yes, it's inconvenient when a road gets closed or when we've got to restrict parking for a period of time, but my observation of how those sites have been managed to manage traffic flow, manage pedestrian safety, I think the team has performed very well in what is really the busiest roads in Fiji to do this work on. You'll notice that we're doing a lot of work at night, so really trying to avoid inconvenience to businesses and travellers. And so where we can, we're doing work at night, and this work is going quite quickly compared to a more traditional method of construction.
Mr. Cook, if you can just very briefly and very quickly explain what's happening right now. A lot of people are seeing, along Victoria Parade, the whole road's been ripped up. What's happening there? What exactly is going on?
So when a road pavement is deteriorated to the point that many of our roads in Fiji are, they can't be patched anymore. You can't. There's nothing to fix. They have to be rebuilt, and that's what we're seeing in the central Suva at the moment. You can rebuild in a number of ways. You can dig out and take away all the old material and bring new stuff in, and that's what we're seeing on parts of Nolly Street. Or you can use the existing pavement material and modify it in some way, and that's what we're seeing also here in Central Suva. So we've got some world-leading technology that's been brought into Fiji to deliver this particular part of our work program this year. It's called foam bitumen modification. It's a very fancy name for saying we use the existing road pavement material, we mix it all up with some special additives, and that produces a brand new pavement that's very, very durable and will ideally last us 25 years.
Okay, we'll talk more about the technology when we come back, Mr. Cook. We head into another short break. Welcome back. You're on Speak Your Mind. The topic today is roads around the country, and with me in studio is the CEO for the Fiji Roads Authority, Mr. Neil Cook. If you have any questions, I've said before, you can call us up 3220-906 or 3220-907. Now, Mr. Cook, still sticking to the roads around the capital, and I'm sure this is happening also other parts of the country. There's been a lot of digging happening. Was this also part of the plan, or is this something that had to be done in terms of improvising?
Oh, so some is part of the project, and some is things that happen during the course of a project that we have to react to. So there's some of the digging. Nolly Street, we've had to dig out a lot of the old road pavement material and take it away, bring new stuff in. We've had to relocate a lot of services, so telecom cables, water pipes, and so on. Many of the water pipes had been installed.
Was this anticipated? Did you know that this would happen?
Yeah, again, most of it we knew exactly what needed to be done. We have had excellent cooperation and support from our partners in Water Authority, Telecom, and FEA where required. They've really come to assist and cooperate with us to deliver these projects, and it needs that coordination, it needs that cooperation across the organisations.
Just as well, you mentioned Water Authority of Fiji, because I understand you've also had some problems with the piping systems, the old piping systems in Fiji.
Yeah, look, in some ways the roading, the management of a roading asset is a lot easier than a water asset. We can see most of our assets. They can't. They have limited information as to how things were constructed way back when they were put in, and that just makes their job that little bit tougher. So we've been pleased with how our relationship is developing with the Water Authority. We're supporting them in their requests to get funding at an appropriate level in order to help us meet our programs. We don't want to be building new roads and having pipes burst under them in 2 years' time, 3 years' time.
We have to tear it all up again.
When we want to put down a road that's going to last 20 years.
So how have you managed to work together in order to actually sort these issues out?
Well, we've had Water Authority staff on site whenever we've needed them, and so again, as I said, we've had crews working through the night. Water Authorities had to be part of that. We have had our contractor doing some of the replacement work. So, we've had specialist crews coming in to do some of these water main replacements with input from the Water Authority. So just generally a willingness on all sides to cooperate for the best value to Fiji, because at the end of the day, whether it's Water Authority or Fiji Roads Authority, it's all Fijian taxpayers' money that's going into these projects.
It's good to see the level of cooperation, Mr. Cook. But is it safe to say that because of this, your work is being delayed to some extent?
We've had
not just the Water Authority. I mean the cables that you mentioned earlier. All these issues that you had to deal with.
Most of the services relocations we knew would have to happen, and we made allowance for. That's not to say that there haven't been delays through the project. There have. So, and for instance, we had one section where the pipe didn't need to be relocated. It appeared to be in pretty good condition. About 3 days after we had finished doing the pavement over that bit of pipe, the pipe burst. So these are just the unknown things. You couldn't plan for that. You just got to react to it when it happens and deal to it. And we make allowance within our programming for some delays. We can't predict the weather, but we can make some sound judgments on how many days we think we're going to lose because of weather.
Now, going to another big part of the FRA's work this year, bridges and jetties. How is this coming along?
Yeah, bridges and jetties are the biggest challenge, I think, facing Fiji in this infrastructure area for the next few years. We have completed inspections on nearly 1,000 bridges, and of those, we've got about 100 that are in really urgent need of attention, and there's another couple of hundred that need some work pretty quickly, but they're not quite so urgent. Jetties, we're underway with an inspection program, but look, many of these are a long, long way away, and you've got to get the right people out to look at them, to make the assessments on them. So we've inspected maybe a third of the jetties, and they are in pretty bad condition, most of them.
I understand the bridge at Stinson Parade has been closed off for a few months now. Watuanga, there's been some relief. They've opened up a temporary bridge there.
Yes.
Are there any other bridges like this that's closed any other parts of the country? And more specifically, the one in Suva, how long do we expect work to start?
Yeah, we're looking at a temporary solution for Stinson Parade at the moment, and but look, we haven't put our focus on that bridge because there is an available detour in place. We've got bridges out there that need our attention much more urgently than that one, and that's where our focus is. I'm not too sure. I suspect there are a few others out there that we've closed. I'm not sure off the top of my head how many, or if in fact there are any. We're working very hard to just manage those risks that those bridges face. So we will generally, we'll put a weight limit on the bridge. But I suppose the point there is if you get down to below the weight of a loaded bus, then you're almost effectively closing the bridge anyway, because so many people need to be able to get on a bus to use that bridge. It's our last resort. We won't close a bridge if we can avoid it. But when we do, we've got to think smart about how we then let people continue to live their lives, and we can't have a bridge closing that all of a sudden means people can't travel the last 10 kilometres of their journey on a bus.
If you just joined us on Gold FM, this is Speak Your Mind. The topic today is roads and bridges around the country, infrastructure development. If you have any questions, my guest in studio today is the CEO for the Fiji Roads Authority, Mr. Neil Cook. Feel free to call us up, 3220-906 or 3220-907. Mr. Cook, very, very quickly, how many bridges did you mention that you've already inspected? 1,000?
We have inspected around 1,000 bridges. Yep.
1,000 bridges. with the inspections completed, do you think, by the looks of things, do you think, or was there a budget allocated for bridges, and do you think that budget was enough after the inspections that you've made?
We think that there's a need for increased investment in bridge and jetty replacement over the next 5 years. Absolutely, the inspections have shown up that the need is probably much greater than we ever anticipated heading into this year. And one of the challenges with bridges and probably more so with jetties is these are not simple structures. Jetties need to be specifically designed for the coastal environment that they are going to operate in. And we've got examples from the past where, with all good intent, jetties have been constructed and they're failing. And they're failing in a number of ways.
Okay, we'll talk about that very interesting topic that you've just mentioned, Mr. Cook, when we return from this very short break. Vinaka, Fiji, it's 37 minutes past 12 o'clock. You're on Gold FM's Speak Your Mind. And as I've said before, if you have any questions regarding our roads or bridges or even jetties, call us up 3220-906 or 3220-907, because here to answer your questions is the CEO for the Fiji Roads Authority, Mr. Neil Cook. Mr. Cook, you just mentioned before the break something about bridges failing and jetties. Do you have any specific example that you can share with us?
Yeah, there's a couple particularly that spring to mind with jetties. There was a jetty built, I think, around 2010 at Yasawa Irara Island, and at a significant cost, so somewhere in the order of $1 million was spent on that jetty, and unfortunately, because of what was built and the location it was built, that failed within about 6 months, and so jetties are complex structures operating in unique environments, and they need the right level of expertise to design them and to build them. We have the jetty on Rotuma, which, whilst I understand the construction of it is okay, the design of it is, and the location of it is such that it gets a sand build-up, which stops the boat docking. So again, a well-built structure, but not the right structure for the location, it would seem, and it now doesn't deliver the service it was intended to deliver. So, we need to spend the time and the effort up front to make sure we get the right design and we get the right people out there looking at these things.
So do we, but we will.
We will.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for. That's what we're going to deliver. And I suppose just really talking about this in the context of this first year of operation, we've had our attention diverted onto some very urgent stuff with bridges. So getting that Fletcher Road one sorted out, and some of these other ones that have needed some immediate attention. The replacement of a bridge takes time to investigate, to design, to then tender it, to then get it built properly. In this first year of operation, it's probably the area that I would say we've lagged a little bit in what we would have expected or what we would have liked to achieve. Primarily just that lead time to get the inspections done, find out the scale of the problem, and then start getting into some designs on these. But we're underway with a number of a number of simpler structures that we were able to get through the design process and then out into the market. But of course, then we run into the issue of the capacity of the local contracting market to actually deliver the work we're putting out there. So again, I consider this a first year of operation problem. We are already in the planning for how we're going to deliver next year's work program, assuming we continue at the same sort of levels of investment. And we'll be putting out packages for design build. We'll be putting a lot of effort into working out how we can deliver this this great need of bridge replacements in particular.
You may, 400 million, as I mentioned, also for 2030. That was for 2013 only. I imagine that a large chunk of that goes to the north with the Nambualu highway. You mentioned 200 million, I think. 200 million.
Look, I would actually say
Or is that for in the duration to have it completed?
200 million is
right.
the value of the project, so over several years.
Right. I only asked that, Mr. Cook, because my follow-up question to that was, so I'm guessing bridges and jetties will have a lot of chunk of the budget also. Or you'll need a lot of money for that also.
Yeah, look, we've got there's 1,000 bridges, and if all goes well, a bridge is designed for 100 years. So that says, on average, over many years, on average, you're replacing, maybe 7 or 8 bridges a year. That's your sustainable level of investment in bridges, and that'll come at an annual price tag of probably around $15 million. Now, what we have out there is what we would call a backlog. These 300 bridges that I've said need some pretty serious work, that we estimate to be in the order of about $200 million. So on top of our sustainable level of investment, we've got this $200 million backlog. The question then becomes, how quickly do we want to get rid of it? And those are political decisions. That's for the government to say to FRA, we've heard what you've had to say. We understand the risks that are out there, and we think that the country as a whole can afford to fund this backlog reduction over a period of time. So we've given our suggestions to government as part of outlining next year's budget request, but also giving them a vision for the next 5 to 10 years. And we await with interest, just like all other agencies do, to see how our request has gone down.
400 million 2013. I'm guessing we're expecting quite similar margin of budgets for 2014.
Yeah, well, I mean, things do change. There are ups and downs around those capital projects. Some are coming to a close, others are ramping up. So, we try and look at a balancing or an evening out over a period of years. So, but yeah, certainly the signal from FRA is that the levels of investment need to continue, particularly around the maintenance and renewals, and with this new knowledge about the actual factual state of our bridges and jetties in particular, we think there's a need for more investment in that area.
Now, we've spoken about the budget. We've spoken about works being happening here in the capital, in Suva, as well as in the west. I'm always curious to know also about the north, Lambasa and Savusavu. What's being done? Has any work started there yet?
Yes, absolutely. There's been work going on there all year, and we've got some quite significant rural road upgrade projects that are underway now, and we hope to have substantially complete before the worst of the rain comes. We've had to do a bit of rescoping of some of those projects. The scope and the scope compared to the dollars. So what we were trying to achieve for the dollars that were available weren't quite matching. So we had to then say, okay, what's the best use of the funds that we do have available? That work's all underway now. The normal maintenance and renewals work has suffered a setback with the demise of Blacktop. There's just no getting around that. But we've got the contingency plan in place. We've got resources up there. We can respond to day-to-day needs, and we can respond to emergency events. And we have had very, very good support from the local operators who were the subcontractors to Blacktop. Very pleased with that support, and we value it, and it's what's helping us get through.
You know what, we'll talk more about Blacktop in our next segment, Mr. Cook. But looking at the whole budget itself, 400 million. We've got 3 months left to end 2013. Has that budget been exhausted, or do you have any more left, or what's the situation? If you have, very quickly.
No, we're in a this last few months is going to be a well, the next 2 months in particular is going to be a very, very busy time. There's a huge amount of work getting done over this next couple of months, and we've certainly got the money to deliver what we need to.
Okay, we'll head into a short break, and when we return, we'll talk more about roadworks around the country, particularly in the north, where, as you've heard, Blacktop has gone into receivership. We'll talk about that when we return. If you have any questions, 3220-906 or 3220-907 is the number to call. Welcome to this, the last segment of Gold FM's Speak Your Mind. Remember, Speak Your Mind happens every Mondays from 12 to 1 p.m. live on Gold FM, and the replay happens on FBC TV on Tuesday nights at 10:30. Before the break, we were talking about Blacktop. Mr. Cook, can you give us just a brief explanation and an update on to what's happening now?
Sure. Look, I mean, we don't want to dwell on the negative, but it is a big issue. There's a huge amount of positive work going on around the country, and it's unfortunate that this has happened. And Fiji Roads Authority has a dual focus in managing this situation. We have, as I said, been working to make sure that we've got the resources in place to respond where we need to, and to keep that work going in the north. And that's all in place, and that's working well.
But it's continuing.
It's continuing. The other thing, of course, is that when a company goes into receivership, there will be debt, and there is a significant unsecured debt in Fiji. A number of creditors of Blacktop who will be feeling the pain right now. Now, what I'd like to take this opportunity to say to any of those is that Fiji Roads Authority is developing a proposal for the government's consideration on some form of relief around that. We have no strict legal obligation to do so, but certainly the message that I've received from government is that there is a moral obligation on us to come up with something, and I don't know what that will be, but and these everyone has been operating in a commercial environment that brings with it some risk, but the signal from us is that we do understand the situation you're in, and we will be doing something to make it better.
So you can 100% give the assurances to all those involved, the stakeholders, the creditors.
I can't give any 100% assurances about anything.
Wrong wording from my end.
What I can say is that I am working very, very diligently on a proposal for government's consideration, and I have been doing so for the last week or so, and I just hope that gives some comfort to some of those, particularly the smaller suppliers out there who have suffered as a result of this.
But what's been their response like, Mr. Cook?
Look, I've been very, very pleased with the fact that
obviously some of them would be worried.
I would expect them to be worried. Yes, they're an unsecured creditor. That unsecured creditor means that you're towards the back of the queue, right? So the banks come in first. The taxman gets his money. Unsecured creditors get what's left. So yes, they are worried, but the response has been absolutely phenomenal from FRA's point of view, because those people have said, well, yes, we're in this problem. Yes, we've got this issue. Yes, we're hurting, but yes, we will still work for you. So that's been very, very pleasing from our point of view. And I guess in general, the response has been people sending letters to us saying, look, we understand this isn't an FRA liability, but here's our situation. What can you do to help us? And that's my message back is, we are working on a proposal that will bring some relief.
Well, assurances given there by the Fiji Roads Authority CEO, Mr. Neil Cook. If you have any questions regarding this situation or any questions regarding our roads, call us up 3220-906 or 3220-907. We have a couple of more minutes left to go. But Mr. Cook, let's look at the general overview of everything. How has work been for the Fiji Roads Authority? It's almost 1 year gone now.
Very challenging, very tiring. It's there's no Fiji time in Fiji Roads Authority, and this has easily been the one of the toughest working years of my life up here, but very rewarding as well. So the Fiji Roads Authority, I've got most of my team on board now. We've developed our corporate structure to deliver these work programs. So that in-house side of things, that is all behind the scenes. No one sees that going on, but that's gone very well. We have our contractors in place. We've got our work programming getting better and better and better. I certainly give all those suppliers of ours a pass mark so far this year. And the signs are really good for the future.
We've seen a lot of guys from overseas here working on our roads. Do you have any rough idea of how many have been brought in and how many locals have been employed?
It's well over 90% locals across the board. So that's probably the easiest number I can throw out there. But the expats are here for a specific reason that everyone's all too aware of. The roading network in Fiji is varyingly described as appalling or deplorable, or
right.
There's expertise needed that is not here at the level that it needed to be, and hopefully over time that will change as the knowledge transfer happens, as the local guys upskill.
Because I heard also remember speaking to you earlier, and you mentioned that as work continues, knowledge will be transferred also to the locals and to help them to upskill them also. Is that happening?
It's already underway. Yes, absolutely. We've got just across the board. There's transfers of local staff back to New Zealand for learning opportunities. There's the specialists coming up here and running grader operator training or road resealing training, and just the permanent expat positions that are up here. Obviously got their teams that they're developing to upskill them and give them that knowledge on how to properly maintain a road network.
Well, Mr. Cook, we've got very little time left. Before we end the show today, can you just give us a brief rundown, if you can, on your budget submissions and what do you expect for next year?
Look, I can't really go into that in any great detail. That's sitting with government at the moment, and I won't disrespect them by
you won't preempt or you won't jinx.
Exactly. But as I've said, Fiji Roads Authority think our position is that the investment needs to continue, and then there's some political decisions to make about now that we've identified the level of our backlog, our deferred renewal program. How quickly do we want to get on top of it? And I can, we advise, they decide, and that's how it works. That's how it should work. And we, as I said, like everyone else, await with interest the budget announcement.
Well, Mr. Cook, it's been a pleasure talking to you on Speak Your Mind today. Thank you so much for taking time out to join us on the show. All the best in your work for 2013 and 2014.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. That was Speak Your Mind. The assurances have been given by the CEO for the Fiji Roads Authority, Mr. Neil Cook, that work will take time, but it will happen. That was Speak Your Mind. Until next week, I'm Roland. Good afternoon.